GamerPoets strives to create the most informative and easy-to-navigate tutorials available, driven by viewer feedback and contribution. What some would do in multiple videos, we do in one. Since the videos are packed full of so much information, a lot of which the general viewer may not even care to know, navigation is provided to accommodate the individual as much as possible. Navigation is appropriately labeled within the sidebar via annotations to each major section. Occasionally, if and when it's needed, a sliding tray will drop down from the top right of the user interface. This has been implemented to allow viewers to skip over information that does not pertain to them in a progressive manner without having to check the video description or without having to guess while dragging on the timeline. However, the video description does provide navigation to every section of the tutorial step by step, and I recommend that it be utilized on subsequent viewings. Finally, video platforms such as YouTube are subject to change. The GamerPoets video interface has been organized in a way that hopes to weather future amendments within the platform. Though, the older this video gets, the more potential there is for the annotations to be hindered. Created by Neo Valen and maintained by he and William M., Dual Sheath Redux, otherwise known as DSR, is a tool that allows you to create a mesh mod tailored specifically to your personal load order. The mod that you create will allow you to choose whether you would like to add left-handed sheaths to complement the right-handed ones, so that those of you who dual wield will not see your left-handed weapon simply disappear when putting it away. You will now be able to store your shield on your character's back instead of seeing it disappear when putting it away, and its position will consider whether or not you are wearing a cape to compensate for any clipping issues, and mages will now be able to display their staves on their backs. For the aforementioned to be generated and displayed in-game, you will need to have a custom mesh replacer for every single weapon that you want DSR to be applied to. The mod's author, thank the divines, created these custom meshes for every single weapon in the vanilla game, including all DLC. The mods that have had meshes generated for them, if you choose to implement them, will be discussed in the compatibility subsection of the pre-installation portion of this guide. There are also a few mods out there, one in particular, which was created by fellow YouTuber Slothability, that provides patches for a multitude of other mods that you may want to utilize Dual Sheath Redux with. I will touch on these in the compatibility section as well, and as always, link to them in the description. Providing constant mod support for more than 3 years, Neo Valen and William M., both major contributors and team members of the Step Wiki, have helped numerous users to troubleshoot their gaming issues, and not just those who use Dual Sheath Redux. As the community would be a lesser place without their presence, they deserve more than just a little applause. Thank you to you both. No, however, one of DSR's requirement mods, XPMSE, allows for many different weapon positions. This mod will be touched upon lightly in a moment, but fully expanded upon in the XP32 Maximum Skeleton Extended start-to-finish tutorial. View the DSR Mesh Pack creation section of this guide to learn how to make your mod compatible with DSR if it isn't already. It is important to note that just because a mod is not compatible with DSR, that does not mean that anything bad will happen to your game if using them together. If a mod is not compatible, you will simply not receive what DSR offers for that particular mod. Many mods are compatible with DSR via the installer during installation. What proceeds are both mods that have been verified to work out of the box and mods verified to have existing patches between them and DSR. All of these mods are also listed in alphabetical order on the official Dual Sheath Redux Nexus mods page, as well as in the video description, and are only provided here for those who rather not read through them. The only mods not listed are those whose packs are provided by Slothability, and a link to his mod page is also in the description. To save yourself some time, feel free to skip to the tutorial's next subsection, Necessary and Recommended Third-Party Utilities, by selecting the button at the top right of the screen. The only one at the moment is DSP SOB. Not only does DSR completely replace what this mod does, but it performs without creating the bugs that DSP SOB did and is recommended by that mod's author. This is the one mod that should not be installed alongside DSR. Due to Jace's swords being created with Test 5 snip, the Skyproc patcher needed to make the DSR mod will stop working and fail. It is recommended that you use Complete Crafting Overhaul Remade and follow the Jace's swords instructions, which are very detailed, from the CCOR Nexus Mods page link. A link to CCOR, as well as links to many other mods, are in the video description. There is a decent amount of mods that DSR itself provides compatibility for as a part of its installer. Those mods are Akaviri Katana Reborn, Alternate Blade of Woe, Amidium Born Book of Silence, Arise Chapter 1 The Black Sacrament, Bosmer Armor Pack, Bucklers, Shields, and Other Armors, Dark Nemesis Enhanced Edition Ebony Set, Deadly Dragon's Armory, Diamond Armor Smithing, Dragonbone Armor Smithing, Dragonbone Ebon Steel Armor, Dragon Knight Armor, Dread Knight Weapon Set, Elemental Staffs, Frostfall, Frostmourne and Lich King's Armor, Gosu Weapon Pack, Gladiator Armor, Hybrid's Vicious Weapons, Immersive Armors, Immersive Weapons, Insanity's Dwemer Weapons, Insanity's Shields, Izilmariel, LOTR Weapons Collection, Lore Weapon Expansion, Nikoroshi Creations, Obis, Organized Bandits in Skyrim, Realistic Transparent Glass Armors and Weapons, Requiem, the Role-Playing Overhaul, Skyrim Immersive Creatures, Skyrim Weapon Delarpification Project, Stalrim Extra Crafting, Standalone 09's Claw, Swords of the Ancient Tongues, Tendo's Percus Maximus, Tendo Skyrim Redone, Tarot Weapons Collection for Skyrim, The Chronicles of Steel, The Loner Sword, Ultimate Assortment, Unique Uniques, Vardenfell Glass Armor and Weapon Set, Weapons of the Third Era, Warrior Within Weapons. Simply choose any and all of these mods that you use from the Dual Sheath Redux installer, which is shown during the downloading and installation portion of this guide, and continue on with the tutorial. The following mods have been said to work by their own authors with Dual Sheath Redux without needing any extra patches or steps. BDYEB Shield Mod, Better Shaped Weapons, Conan Hibernian Age, Deathbrand Armor and Weapon Replacer, Dagger Craft Package, Diamond Weapon Smithing Ebony Blade, Elven Dagger Replacer, God of War, Blades of Chaos and Athena, Hunting Grounds Weapon Pack, Insanity's Ebony Sword Replacer, Katana Crafting, Mehrunes Razor Reborn, Orcish Weapon Set, SAO, Elucidator and Dark Repulsor, SBO, Skyrim Blade Overhaul, and Unique Weapons Redone. You should be able to simply install any of these mods before patching with DSR and continue on with the tutorial. The following mods have had compatibility patches created for them by different mod authors and community members and have been verified to work via the DSR team. Andragorn, Replace Imperial Sword, Yui's True Weaponry, of Viscounts and Siraz, Insanity's Celtic Katana, Real Silver Swords, Standalone and Replacer, Redguard Shield, the Imperial Legion, and Warglaze of Azzinoth. Install any of these patches after installing DSR, but before patching with DSR, and continue on with the tutorial. If you care to try your hand at making your own mesh packs for any mods that are not compatible with Dual Sheath Redux, view the DSR mesh pack creation portion of this guide. If you upload your packs to Nexus, the DSR team will link to them on their mod page. Slothability, a fellow YouTuber and modder, has provided a plethora of mesh packs for Dual Sheath Redux in his mod, A Lot of Dual Sheath Redux Patches. In fact, he provides packs for more mods than I have already mentioned thus far. He also takes requests for mods that have yet to have packs created for them. However, understand that he does have a life beyond modding, and his time may be limited depending on when it is that you contact him. Go to his mod page and show him some support because he deserves it. Not only for this, but for his help in the community in general. Install A Lot of Dual Sheath Redux patches after DSR, but before you run the patch generator. I will show this later on, where appropriate, in the tutorial. The latest version of SKSE is required for DSR to function. If you need help installing it or care to view some in-depth information about it, a link to our guide is provided in the video description. While not needed for DSR to generate its patch, it is needed to take advantage of some beneficial mod configuration menu options. Load order should not matter, but I would at least load it before DSR. Java Runtime Environment is needed for the patch generator to function. Mod Organizer users, be sure to download the 32-bit version, as MO itself is 32-bit. If you are using Mod Organizer and have run Skyproc patch generators before, you should already have this installed. While any skeleton replacer that supports left-handed weapons, shield on back, and staff on back mesh nodes will do, XP32MS Extended is highly recommended by both myself and the DSR team. It has been maintained and updated for years, and it is the most well put together skeleton mod for Skyrim that I am aware of. Download and install the latest edition. A full video tutorial on XP32 Maximum Skeleton Extended will be available on the channel and linked in the description. I personally install XP32 very early on in my load order and before any weapon and armor mods. Needed for XP32 Maximum Skeleton Extended to function. Download and install the most recent version. Install Realistic Ragdolls and Force directly above, lower in priority than XP32. The version that I personally download is the Realistic Force version. Its position in your load order may not need to be as specific as I mentioned, but installing it this way has always proven to work well for me. Rule of thumb: if something is required by a mod, load it before the mod that requires it. Also needed for XP32 to function. There are special options in the character creation menu for XP32. Race menu also comes pre-packaged with Net Immerse Override, which XP32 requires to function as well. Download and install the latest version. Race menu can be loaded anywhere in your load order via its mod page. However, for our purposes, be sure to load it after the aforementioned requirements and before DSR and FNIS to avoid any unlikely issues. This is needed to maximize XP32's functionality. A video guide on FNIS is provided in the video description and will soon be updated to its final 2016 start-to-finish tutorial version. FNIS needs to be installed and run after dual Sheath Redux, and the patch generation process is 100% complete. If you ever decide to update the DSR patch, you will also have to erase and update the FNIS patch. The process is extremely fast once you know what options you are choosing. Immersive animations is not needed for DSR to work in any shape or form. However, it is highly recommended by the DSR team to be able to receive some pretty impressive animations that work well alongside DSR. The DSR team states that immersive animations should be installed before the XP32 Maximum Skeleton mod. If a tutorial is created for immersive animations, I will link it in the description. Assuming that you have already installed all of the requirements, except for FNIS, which needs to be installed after DSR, navigate to nexusmods.com/skyrim/mods/34155. Open Files. Select the Download with Manager option beneath the most recent main files version of Dual Sheath Redux. Open your mod manager and double-click the mod archive to install it. Nexus Mod Manager users do so from the Mods tab. Mod Organizer users do so from the Downloads tab. At the main Dual Sheath Redux installer window, activate the checkbox for Patcher and Vanilla Meshes. This is the foundation of the mod, and without this, there is no Dual Sheath Redux. If you have any weapon and armor mods installed, activate the Mod Packs checkbox to be able to browse through the compatibility meshes that are provided. Select Next. Back or hip option. Just because you have a skeleton that supports swords on back, it does not mean that you have to select this. However, if you want to be able to have swords on your back at any point in the future, which you are able to do so when utilizing mods such as XP32, or if you simply do not want to see straps on your weapon sheaths where applicable, even if you do not have a swords on back option installed, you want to select Yes here. I personally select Yes. Select Next. Skyrim Weapon Delarpification Project. Activate the checkbox if you use this mod. It is highly recommended that you do use it. Select Next. Standalone mods. Scroll through this menu and activate the checkbox for any and all of the mods that are installed to your personal load order, which appear here. Do not activate the checkboxes for mods that you don't have installed. When you have finished making your choices, select Install. Be sure that Dual Sheath Redux and the Dual Sheath Redux ESP are now installed and activated within your mod manager. At this point, you should check to see if you have any of the mods listed in the video description or on the DSR page itself, as well as any mods listed on Slothability's A Lot of Dual Sheath Redux Patches mod page, for which mod packs have been created for, and install them after the Dual Sheath Redux mod as instructed during the pre-installation section of this guide. When installing the mesh packs, be sure to overwrite everything when asked. The DSR Patch Generator. Nexus Mod Manager users, select the button at the top right of the video to skip to the next subsection of the guide. Mod Organizer users, open Mod Organizer. In the right pane, open the Data tab. scroll down. Locate the SkyProc Patchers directory, expand it, expand Dual Sheath Redux Patch, right-click Dual Sheath Redux Patch.jar, and add as executable. Note, if the Enter Name window does not open, and instead the File Explorer window opens, you have not properly installed Java to your system. Install 32-bit Java and remove 64-bit Java if you have it installed, and return to this step. At the Enter Name window, select OK. Open the drop-down menu next to the Run button. Select the Dual Sheath Redux patch. This is where you will now run and rerun the DSR patcher from. Run it. At the Dual Sheath Redux patch window, you can open Other Settings, if you choose to, and change the BIP slots that DSR uses. You want to leave this alone for the very first time that you run the generator, so I will cover what this does in the troubleshooting section of the guide. All you need to do here is select Patch at the top right of the window. The more mods that you have installed, the longer the patch will take to generate, but even with hundreds of mods, the patch should only take a minute or two. Now that the patch has been generated, right-click on Overwrite at the bottom of Mod Organizer. Select Create Mod. Name the mod DSR Patch or something similar. Activate the new mod at the bottom of MO. Dual Sheath Redux is now installed. Mod Organizer users can skip to the next subsection of the guide. Nexus Mod Manager users. Open Nexus Mod Manager. Select the arrow next to the Open Folders icon. Select Open Game Folder. Open Data. Open the new SkyProc Patchers folder. Open the Dual Sheath Redux Patch folder. Right-click the Dual Sheath Redux Patch and send to Desktop. This will allow for faster patching in the future if needed. Locate the DSR Patch shortcut on your desktop and double-click it. At the Dual Sheath Redux Patch window, you can open Other Settings if you choose to and change the BIP slots that DSR uses. You want to leave this alone for the very first time that you run the generator, so I will cover what this does in the troubleshooting section of the guide. All that you need to do here is select Patch at the top right of the window. The more mods that you have installed, the longer the patch will take to generate, but even with hundreds of mods, the patch should only take a minute or two. Now that the patch has been generated, go back to Nexus Mod Manager and open the Plugins tab. Activate the new Dual Sheath Redux Patch.esp. Dual Sheath Redux is now installed. At this point, there is nothing else that you need to do to make Dual Sheath Redux work. However, you should now install and run FNIS, 4's new idols in Skyrim, to assure that you don't receive any animation issues that could arise with XP32 Maximum Skeleton Extended or any other skeleton mod that you have chosen to use instead. FNIS is an entirely different tutorial as it is not needed for Dual Sheath Redux to work and is linked in the video description for those of you who do not know how to install it or use it, or for those of you who would simply like to know some in-depth information about it. An updated tutorial, 2016 start to finish version, will be created soon after the DSR video is released. When adding or removing weapon, armor, and/or animation mods from your load order, I would suggest that you remake the DSR patch, which also means that you would then need to remake the FNIS patch afterwards, if using FNIS, since that patch also encompasses what you have patched with Dual Sheath Redux, to assure that you don't crash to desktop due to removing dependencies, as well as to assure that you receive the dual sheaths for your new mods if packs have been created for them. Dual Sheath Redux comes with its own MCM. It is very simple and straight to the point. General, Shield on Back. By activating or deactivating the options for either or both player and NPCs, you will toggle Shield on Back placement on and off. Staff on Back. By activating or deactivating the options for either or both player and NPCs, you will toggle Staff on Back placement on and off. Start, Stop, Uninstall. Only use this if you plan to uninstall Dual Sheath Redux altogether from your load order. As modders who have been around the community for a little while should know, there is no safe way to completely remove a mod from an existing save file. However, the safest way to go about uninstalling DSR to assure that there are no scripts left running in your save file is to load the game. You will have to do this for each save file that you wish to uninstall DSR from. Open the DSR MCM. Open the Start-Stop option, select Uninstall, select OK. Save the game to a new save slot, exit the game. Open your mod manager and delete or remove the mod as you would any other mod. Open the Skyrim data folder. If there are any Dual Sheath Redux ESPs here, delete them. Still within the Skyrim data folder, locate and open the SkyProc Patchers folder if one exists. Delete the Dual Sheath Redux patch folder. Open the game one final time. Load the new save file that we just created a moment ago. Wait 10 in-game days. Save again to another new save slot. This is the save file that you will use from here on out. BIP, DSR Patch Generator Other Settings. BIP represents different body parts of the character, including BIP60, which is a miscellaneous FX slot for unforeseen needs, such as those created via dual Sheath Redux. Some mods, such as a left-handed ring mod, may utilize this same slot, and because of that, switching to a weapon that has been patched with DSR may remove a random piece of equipment created by another mod that doesn't have anything to do with what you would expect from DSR. The good thing is that this is a rare issue that will only affect a small amount of users. To fix this issue, you would need to run the dual Sheath Redux patch generator again and try to change the BIP slots. Then you would go in-game and test out your equipment and see if these issues persist. You may need to experiment with this and repatch multiple times until you find the correct BIP settings for your personal load order. The first slots to try to switch to would be 47, which is the back slot and could be affected by backpack or wing mods, and 57, which represents the shoulders. This is done intentionally by the mod. Otherwise, if the mod was left active, the known brawl bug would take place. DSR also stops when you go to fight Vilcus in the yard. If you do not fight him when you are supposed to, the mod will remain disabled until you complete that stage of the quest. DSR only places shields and staves on the back and left-handed sheaths. Running FNIS with XP32 Maximum Skeleton Extended will allow for a great deal of weapon placement variation. Video tutorials for both will be linked in the description as soon as they are completed. This is a known issue. If this happens with all of your weapons and shields, then you have installed the skeleton mesh incorrectly or are using a skeleton mod that does not support the weapon placement. If this only happens for items from a specific weapon or armor mod, then the meshes for that mod is the problem. If the item in question is not from a different mod and is only for a single item, report this to the DSR team and they will investigate and attempt to fix the issue. This is an issue with the game itself. By default, right-handed swords are sheathed on the left side. Right-handed maces and axes are sheathed on the right side. Thus, dual-wielding a mace and sword will cause them to be sheathed on the same side. A different mod would have to be created to change how the vanilla game does this. If anyone is capable of this, contact the DSR team. View the DSR mesh pack creation section of the guide to learn how to create your own mesh pack. The most known reasons for these occurrences are that either Java is not installed correctly, or the wrong version of Java is installed. This could also be related to a Windows permissions issue. Assure that antivirus software is not blocking the patch generator. You can also try right-clicking the Skyrim game folder and giving it full security permissions. For those who don't know how to do that, a video on how is linked in the description. If you are using a cracked version of the game, there could be many reasons for these occurrences, which are not worth anyone's time to troubleshoot. There may be other reasons, but these are the most common. It would be worth contacting the STEP Wiki members in their forums if the aforementioned are not the issues to see if they can help. This could be for one of the reasons just mentioned in the previous issue. Another reason is that the ESP is loaded before its requirements and needs to be moved to a higher priority. There are some other known issues and limitations with DSR that would require someone who has some good knowledge using Blender or 3ds Max. If you are knowledgeable of these programs and care to help, or are capable of helping with any of the other issues, contact either Neo Valen or William M. Links to do so are in the description. For those of you who wish to create mesh packs for modded weapons and shields so that they work with DSR, this section of the guide is for you. This tutorial presumes that you know how to extract NIF files from the BSAs or mod loose files. All of this information comes from the DSR team and can be found in text in the Files section of the Dual Sheath Redux mod page. I am quite sure that these methods could be similarly applied to meshes for other purposes and perhaps even other games as long as the proper modding tools were in place for them. I may create a standalone NIF scope tutorial for tasks such as this in the future, as I have been getting more and more interested in my own modding, but for now, we will focus strictly on DSR. As always, view the video description to jump to which type of model you want to learn how to create a patch for, or use the mini navigation that has now dropped down from the top right of the screen. This is for one-handed swords that are identical on both sides of the blade, so that when you turn them 180 degrees, nothing about the model will be different. Load the mesh that you wish to convert into NIF scope, In our example, the mesh is meshes, weapons, iron, first-person longsword.nif. Locate the NiString extra data node in the node list and select it so that it's highlighted. In block details, the bottom pane, right-click String Data. Select Edit String Index. In the resulting window, erase the string that appears and change the value to Weapon Sword Left. Select OK. Now we can see that this blade has a sheath. Find and select the NiTri-shape node that is named SCB. Now, in block details, right-click the string title next to name and select Edit String Index. In the resulting window, erase the string and type SCB left. Select OK. From the top left of NIF scope, select File, select Save As, name the file longswordleft.nif so that it represents the third-person model name, and be sure to retain the exact same directory path as the original mesh. Next, we will get rid of the blade by right-clicking the blade model in the render window. Expand block. Select Remove Branch. If the blade and the hilt are separate parts, select the hilt and remove branch for it as well, as both parts need to be deleted. With only the scabbard remaining, select File and then Save As. Name the file longswordsheath.nif and be sure to retain the exact same directory path as the original mesh. This section is for one-handed swords that would appear different if rotated 180 degrees. Load the mesh that you wish to convert into NIF scope. In our example, the mesh is meshes, weapons, Daedric sword.nif. Locate the NiString extra data node in the node list and select it so that it's highlighted. In block details, the bottom pane, right-click String Data. Select Edit String Index. In the resulting window, erase the string that appears and change the value to Weapon Sword Left. Select OK. Now we can see that this blade has a sheath. Find and select the NiTri-shape node that is named SCB. Now, in block details, right-click the string title next to name and select Edit String Index. In the resulting window, erase the string that appears and type SCB left. Select OK. If we were to save the file at this point in the mesh, because this is a single-sided blade, which has changed the hand in which it will be held, the blade would be facing the wrong direction. So, select the blade mesh in the render window. In block details, locate the rotation row and find the P field. Type 180 to rotate the blade. Push the Enter key. Now, because this is a Daedric blade, and it has other nodes facing the original direction, such as the glow effect, you will have to rotate that as well. Select the Daedric Sword Glow NiTri-shape. In block details, locate the rotation row, find the P field, type 180. Push the Enter key. Notice that for this model, the glow map doesn't look quite the same as it did on the original blade. This is because there was an XYZ translation on the original. So when we rotate the P field, we have to reverse the positive and negative symbols of the X and Z parameters in the translation row to get things back to the correct position. In our example, X and Z are positive, so we need to make them both negative. From the top left of NIF scope, select File, select Save As, name the file DaedricSwordLeft.nif, and be sure to retain the exact same path as the original mesh. Next, we will get rid of the blade by right-clicking the blade model in the render window. Expand block. Select Remove Branch. If the blade and the hilt are separate parts, select the hilt and remove branch for it as well, as both parts need to be deleted. Right-click the glow model, expand block, select Remove Branch. With only the scabbard remaining, select File and then Save As. Name the file DaedricSwordSheath.nif, being sure to retain the exact same directory path as the original mesh. Load the mesh that you wish to convert into NIF scope. In our example, the mesh is meshes, weapons, Akviri, first-person blades, sword.nif. Locate the NiString extra data node in the node list and select it so that it's highlighted. In block details, the bottom pane, right-click String Data. Select Edit String Index. In the resulting window, erase the string that appears and change the value to Weapon Sword Left. Select OK. Now we can see that this blade has a sheath. Find and select the NiTri-shape node that is named SCB. Now, in block details, right-click the string title next to name and select Edit String Index. In the resulting window, erase the string that appears and type SCB left. Select OK. If we were to save a file at this point in the mesh, because this is a single-sided blade, which has changed the hand in which it will be held, the blade will be facing the wrong direction. Select the blade mesh in the render window. In block details, locate the rotation row and find the P field. Type 180 to rotate the blade. Push the Enter key. Notice that for this model, it doesn't look quite the same as it did on the original blade. This is because there was an XYZ translation on the original. So when we rotate the P field, we have to reverse the positive and negative symbols of the X and Z parameters in the translation row to get things back to the correct position. In our example, both X and Z are negative, so we need to make them both positive. Now notice that the sheath no longer follows the blade. We are going to have to rotate it the same way as we just did to the blade itself. Select it. In the block details, locate the rotation row and find the P field. Type 180 to rotate the sheath. Push the Enter key. Then reverse the positive and negative symbols of the X and Z parameters in the translation row to get things back to the correct position. From the top left of NIF scope, select File. Select Save As, name the file bladeswordleft.nif, and be sure to retain the exact same directory path as the original mesh. Next, we will get rid of the blade by right-clicking the blade model in the render window. Expand block. Select Remove Branch. If the blade and the hilt are separate parts, select the hilt and remove branch for it as well, as both parts need to be deleted. With only the sheath remaining, select File, and then Save As, naming the file bladeswordleft.nif, and be sure to retain the exact same directory file path as the original. For these weapons, you will follow the exact same steps as I have provided for the different one-handed sword options. However, where you are told to name something weapon's name sword left, you will instead rename it weapon name axe left, or weapon name dagger left, or weapon name mace left, depending on what weapon you are doing this for. If any of the weapons have a node that is named weapon back, stop. Do not convert this mesh, as it is a two-handed weapon, and Skyrim does not support dual wielding of two-handed weapons, and thus are not supported by DSR. Load the mesh that you wish to convert into NIF scope. In our example, the mesh is meshes armor elven shield.nif. Locate the nitri-string extra data node in the node list and select it so that it's highlighted. In block details, the bottom pane, right-click string data. Select Edit String Index. In the resulting window, change shield to shield back. Select OK. From the top left of NIF scope, select File, select Save As, name the file OnBackClk, and be sure to retain the exact same directory path as the original mesh. This mesh is to allow shields via dual Sheath Redux to be able to be moved further off the back when cloaks are detected to prevent clipping issues. Dual Sheath Redux and Winter is Coming cloaks. You need to have these both installed because you will have to check your progress in-game to assure that the shield position is not floating or too close to the character. You will have to check the mesh in-game, exit, and adjust the NIF scope accordingly, as will be shown. Test 5 Edit will allow you to quickly look up shield names and form IDs when needed. Borderless Window Mode. You don't need to use this, but doing so will allow you to quickly go back and forth between NIF scope and the game, as Skyrim will usually crash when exiting full screen to view the desktop. This will allow you to not have to launch and exit the game multiple times, yet instead leave the game open throughout the entire process. If the mod that you wish to create a OnBackClk Mesh 4 is not patched via DSR, put the mod in your load order and rerun the DSR patch generator to remake the output. Launch Skyrim. I'd suggest to make a new save in character, assure that the character is male and that he has a weight of 1.0. This will assure accuracy between the model and the official patches. Leave the game running, or exit if you have to, and launch Test 5 Edit. Be sure to load every single mod in your load order. Hold the Shift key to save time by avoiding reference building and select OK. Locate the mod in question in the left pane. Expand it. Then locate and expand Armor. Locate the shield, note the form ID, and the mesh path. Next, locate and expand Winter is Coming. Expand Armor. Locate a cloak of any kind and note the form ID. Close Test 5 Edit. Go back to the game. Open the console, type player.add-item, leave a space, the shield ID, leave another space, 1. Push the Enter key. Then repeat this command, but instead of adding the shield to your character, add the cloak using the ID that we wrote down. Leave the game running again, or exit if you have to, and launch NIF scope. Now, open the shield that you were patching using the mesh path that we wrote down earlier from Test 5 Edit. At this point, you have to follow the steps mentioned on the Shield OnBack mesh portion of this tutorial for this specific shield so that a non-cloak version exists for it. For this example, I will use the Elven shield from the previous example. Next, save the file again without doing anything extra to it, except this time change the name to Elven Shield OnBack CLK.nif, still being sure to retain the exact same directory path as the original mesh. Now, for every tri-shape node that exists in the model, highlight them, look down in block detail, and locate the value column for translation. In the Z translation, add the value of a -1. After all nodes have had this applied to them, save the file and go back in game. Equip your character with the shield and cloak that we added to him a few moments ago. Examine the shield. Do so while standing still, while moving around, sheathing and unsheathing, crouching, every which way that you can. If you see no clipping, you can keep the file saved as is, and you are done. If you do see clipping, go back to NifScope, go back to each tri-shape node, and add another -1 to each value. Save the file. Unequip the cloak and shield, and then re-equip them. Repeat this process until the clipping is gone. If the shield ends up being too far away and appears to be floating, instead of adding a -1 to the Z translation for each tri-shape, instead add a positive 0.5 to each, save, and then test again. This process will take a while, but the end results are a properly patched shield that doesn't clip through cloaks. And for the last tutorial, load the mesh that you wish to convert into NifScope. In our example, the mesh is meshes weapons staff01 staff01.nif. Locate the NideString extra data node in the node list and select it so that it's highlighted. In block details, the bottom pane, right-click string data. Select edit string text. In the resulting window, erase the string that appears and change the value to weapon staff, select OK. From the top left of NifScope, select File, select Save As. Name the file staff01write.nif and be sure to retain the exact same directory path as the original mesh. Once again, locate the NideString extra data node in the node list and select it so that it's highlighted. In block details, the bottom pane, right-click string data, select edit string index. In the resulting window, erase the string that appears and change the value to weapon staff left, select OK. From the top left of NifScope, select File, select Save As, name the file staff01left.nif, and be sure to retain the exact same directory path as the original mesh. I would like to thank all of you for watching this video. I'm sure that I provided some more information than most of you thought that I would. Being the last update for this mod, and since it's been so long since I created the original video, I wanted to make sure that I included everything that I was capable of including to it. A huge thank you to Neil Vallon for creating the mod, as well as for William Im for updating, maintaining it, and both of them for creating many of these tutorials in text, including how to create all of the meshes for additional packs to be made for DSR. As always, I am Michael of GamerPoets. Thank you all for watching.